All right, so let's take the issue of free speech. Now, free speech is not precisely the right to say whatever you want, although it is that. That's a careless characterization of something fundamental. Okay, so what free speech is the right and maybe the obligation to conduct discourse in a manner that's aimed at addressing and solving serious problems. Okay, so we might say our society is made up of people who differ for all sorts of reasons in their viewpoints, but we have to live together and cooperate and compete in a hopefully sustainable and non-violent manner. And there are mechanisms that allow that to occur. And the most fundamental mechanism that allows that to occur is discourse. And discourse has to be free because discourse is the major way that we solve our problems without fighting. And the reason that discourse helps us solve our problems is because, first of all, we can articulate our being in a manner that other people can begin to understand, and they can object to that, and then we can clarify what the problem is, and then we can start to talk about solutions. And then if we come up with a good problem statement, here's a problem, this needs to be addressed, and then we can articulate a solution, and we can negotiate about that. That means we can all get behind the solution, and we can move forward with solving problems, and we don't have to devolve into conflict. And so the alternative to discourse is conflict, like physical, I mean outright physical conflict. It's for that reason that Alfred North Whitehead said that the purpose of thinking is so that we can let our ideas die instead of us dying. Right? Yeah. It's a major league statement. That
I would say, just to interject, I would say that your sort of the threshold of valuable free speech that you started off this latest segment with is a bit too stringent. I mean, free speech is about also allowing people to be idiots.
I agree.
Free speech is about people denying the Holocaust. I'm Jewish, and I support the right of people to deny arguably the most obvious historical fact that's ever been documented. So it's not only about providing people a mechanism to discuss important ideas. It's about nothing other than the right to express yourself, short of inciting direct violence on anybody else. Everything else is allowed.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. What I'm trying to point out is, see, I would say the central reason that society has to protect free discourse is because it is the fundamental problem-solving mechanism. And then I would say a byproduct of that is the necessity to allow people to say offensive things, foolish things, stupid things, partly because they're malevolent at times, but also partly because it's very frequently the case that when someone initially formulates an argument, and I mean, I see this in my clinical practice all the time, when you initially attempt to formulate an argument, you're going to do a very bad job of it because you haven't formulated the argument yet. And so you have to be allowed to stumble around like a moron, because it's the only way that you're ever going to trip over the truth. And if you can do that publicly, then people can comment on what you're doing and they can help you shape your arguments. Okay, so you've got the central issue, which is the problem-solving mechanism. And then you've got a peripheral issue, which is the right of people to do it badly and stupidly. Okay, then you might say, and you already brought this up, that despite that, reasonable people can agree that certain limitations on expression are necessary. And the classic example is that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. And then you can have a reasonable discussion about what those limits might be. Hate speech laws are one example of that, although I happen to be on your side. I think that, I mean, it's not surprising that people are concerned about issues like hate speech, because speech can be hateful. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether or not it's more dangerous to allow freedom of speech that goes in that direction, or to suppress and forbid it. And I think the evidence for that is clear. It's far more dangerous to suppress it. I think you actually validate it by suppressing it, and worse, you drive the acolytes of those viewpoints underground, and you don't subject them to proper public criticism. Even psychologically, the fact that people who have, let's call them pathological viewpoints, for lack of a better word, if they cannot express those freely in public, they can't benefit from criticism. And criticism doesn't just mean shut up and go away. That's not criticism. Criticism means, well, here's how we differentiate your argument into its sub-elements, and here's how we demolish it line by line. And so, having done that, go back and reformulate it, or ignore it, but you ignore that at your peril. If you ignore rationality and rational argument, then, well, good luck to you.